Hello guys and gals, DodgerRoger here, and I've decided to do something a bit different with this, my latest video on War Thunder. Today I'll be taking a look at the XP-55 along with showing my best round in the aircraft in air realistic battles. So after some research into the XP-55 I came across some glaringly obvious discrepancies when comparing the actual aircraft to the one we have in game. Firstly I'll go through a brief history of the aircraft before continuing on to the game version. The XP-55 Ascender was a prototype fighter aircraft. Development began in 1942 after answering the United States Army Air Corps call for an unconventional aircraft design. The XP-55 fit the bill with its pusher engine mounted at the rear, swept back rings and forward canard mountings. The first prototype was completed in 1943. Only 3 Ascenders were ever built, and now only one remains, as the other 2 were destroyed in crashes. Pusher power plants propelled these flying experiments, but after considerable testing, the US Army Air Corps deemed the Ascender's handling too poor for an effective combat fighter. Armament for the XP-55 was originally drawn up to include a pair of 20mm cannon to go along with twin 12.7mm 50 caliber machine guns. This arrangement was revised to a quad 50 caliber array during the testing phase, and this armament stayed with the life of the program. The XP-55 would feature a host of interesting design elements. For Curtiss, it would become its first design to feature a powered tricycle landing gear assembly. The absence of a true rudder resulted in small vertical rudders mounted on the outermost part of the wings. The use of forward canards was also revolutionary, as was the ejection system. The propeller had to be jettisoned before the pilot could eject himself, ensuring that the pilot would not eject and hit the propeller system in the rear by accident. The final verdict on the XP-55 rang in hard when it was realised that the system could not match the performance available to contemporary and traditionally designed fighters. Additionally, the latter years of Second World War were already bringing about the advent of jet propulsion, effectively negating any more development or advances in propeller systems research. Looking at Gaijins' wiki page reveals little in terms of actual history and makes no mention in the change of armament, though it mentions the aircraft's poor performance, though this isn't reflected in game, as can be seen, and even on the wiki page where it states quite proudly that it can outmaneuver Bf-109F4 and a Spitfire Mark IIB. So we have a situation where the aircraft performed badly in real life, yet performs like a literal superplane in game. Also bearing in mind, the aircraft in question is the most expensive Rank 2 premium in game, not including bundled aircraft, and that it apparently has the wrong armament in the opposite way as the XF-55F Skyrocket, which is a rare event aircraft, which still has the incorrect armament. Running a quick check on the stats and comparing them to the real aircraft shows that the climb rate in game is roughly twice that of its real life performance, which puts it at least on equal terms with the majority of the aircraft it will face. Yet if it had its real life climb rate, it'd surely struggle without having the balanced air spawn option, and that is why I think Gaijin decided to give it a rather nice climb rate buff, as they can't have a very expensive premium aircraft being easily outperformed by non-premium planes. This is bearing in mind that initially the XP-55 probably performed quite closely compared to its real life version, and that Gaijin buffed it massively for patch 1.53, and since then has been the bane of many a dogfight with its relatively unrealistic performance. So, if you're in the need for an overpowered fighter or require silver lions, aka in-game currency, then shouting out the 3.9 thousand Golden Eagles for this plane might be for you. Though don't expect to make many friends on the enemy team, or praise for making pro MLG videos whilst flying it, as it's obviously broken as intended. On to the best game I've had in the aircraft so far. So, after a relatively straightforward climb, I try and keep the sun on my right at this stage in order to basically highlight the enemy that approach on my right. However, I don't see the two vehicles or two enemy aircraft that are approaching me on my left. The first target that I shoot down, the BF-109 and the BV-238. The BV-238 I'll come back to later, as you'll see in the video, but first up is the BF-109 Dogfight. I first spot the BF-109, then see the BV-238. The 109 is above me slightly, and he's my first concern and target. He makes an aggressive move in order to drop down to what he believes is going to be my 6, but I'm already turning inside him. And then we have a energy fight of sorts, with him having a slightly higher energy advantage, but me having the better aircraft. He attempts to get onto my 6 several times, and I evade using a kind of rolling scissors approach, or vertical scissors maneuver. He gets one relatively close chance to get guns onto me. I see him going for the attack and pull away at the last second, and then I'm onto his 6. First, you could say it's his second mistake, considering he actually tried to turn fight with the XP-55, but this is definitely his final mistake, in that he believed that I had no speed or energy in order to catch him. He pulls up and basically just makes him a sitting duck. Splash 1 bogey. So, moving on to the next one, we have another BF-109. He's pretty much at my altitude. I go for initial head-on pass, spray a couple of rounds in his direction, and then we're into another energy stroke turn fight. He, however, doesn't want to go for a straight turn fight and goes for the vertical maneuver, and again doesn't realise that I've got enough energy in order to pull up, stay with him, gain on him, and take him out. Splash 2 bogeys. The third kill and the third dogfight is a fairly straightforward matter. After killing the second guy, I look down, there's a 109 right below me. I drop onto him, and he dives to try and evade. I take him out and run about 700 meters. Splash 3 bogeys. After taking out the third bogey, I then look onto my 6, and there's a BF-109 right there, just about killing me away. I assume that he actually went for me just prior to that engagement, and he turns and we do a very close head-on pass, neither of us doing any significant damage to each other, and I'm able to then roll over onto his 6, and we're pretty much in the same situation as before. Splash 4. The fifth and final kill in this particular segment is on a G55S. I go for a quick head-on pass with him, roll over and dip under his angle of attack, forcing him to miss and overshoot. I pull up over him and roll back behind him. Meanwhile, he's done a head-on with a P47 and killed him, and then I'm in a position to take him out. Splash 5. After the fifth kill, I had around about 100 cannon rounds left and wasn't confident that I would be able to take out the BV-238 with that amount of ammunition, so I RTB'd and rearmed. After rearming, I take off again, and during the initial climb I actually switch flanks and climb on the right hand side so the sun is closer to me. Part of that is so that hopefully I can easily see enemies on my left, and the other part of it is that they won't be able to see me as well. I also activate an order at this point in order to block them from activating a hunt order and finding where I am. After the initial climb, I spot the BV-238 at around about 15 kilometers or so. It's very difficult to say how far it is away, but the BV-238 being the size of a small town is quite easy to spot. So I pick him out against the ground clutter or horizon and move to intercept. Once I've located the BV-238, I also spot the BF-109 that's escorting him. I believe that they were probably on a mission to bomb out the remaining base that we had and to bomb our airfield. Although with the bomb load that they had, it wouldn't have been enough to destroy the bases, and especially the airfield. I drop onto the BF-109 first. That is my primary target, although it doesn't actually end up being my first kill. The first kill ends up being the BV-238 after I've manoeuvred slightly with the BF-109 that I initially engage. Splash 6. After dropping the BV-238, I make one mistake in that I try and use my energy and go above the BF-109. Luckily he only gets one or maybe two hits with his machine guns, otherwise that could have lost me the game right there. As it turns out though, I drop onto him again and we are then engaged in a bit of a dogfight. I've got the advantage being that I'm only 6 and have the energy advantage as well. However, it's not as easy as that, as you can probably see in the dogfight, for me to get guns on target. And even though I do, a few of the rounds spark and apparently do nothing to it. During part of the dogfight with the BF-109, the final BF-109, who at the time had a 0 score, or just prior to this particular engagement had a 0 score, decides to turn up. He had been absent for the vast majority of the game, and I actually thought he was AFK. As it turned out, he makes a very clumsy attempt at attacking me. I dip under to the right, and then it becomes a turn fight. Splash 7, and then it's just down to me and the final 109. At this point, I'm very confident that I'm going to win the final dogfight, as the aircraft that I'm in quite easily outperforms the BF-109. Knowing this, I play relatively safe and stay on his 6 as much as possible, and don't allow him any chance to get guns on target. Finally, I roll over and flip over on the right behind him and finish him off. And finally, splash 8. This has been my XP-55 review, if you want to call it that. Although the aircraft has actually been in game for quite a few years now, it has had, obviously, a bit of a change over the years. However, as you can see, it performs brilliantly against enemy aircraft of its battle range. And in fact, most of the aircraft that I end up fighting in this particular battle are of a higher battle range than my own. Though, if I'm completely honest, the battering system itself is a bit of a farce. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you like what you see, make sure you hit the like button, and if you want to see more, subscribe. Thanks for watching.